Now I'd like to call our Development Authority of Clayton County, Redevelopment Authority of Clayton County, and the Urban Redevelopment Agency of Clayton County to order for our regular session meeting. I'd like to welcome all our guests, board and staff. Welcome everyone. Before we go any further, I'd like to call on Board Member Christmas to give us our invitation.
Let us pray. Eternal God, our King, Savior, and Master, God, we give thanks for life, health, and strength. God, we ask that you be with us in the midst of this meeting, God, as we do the work of Clayton County, God. God, let our minds be agile and our thoughts keen, oh God, as we do what's best for our county. God, touch each and every one of us that we have sound thinking, God, that we do all that you've called us to do to better our county. This is our prayer in Jesus' name.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we have the approval of the agenda. I would like to add something to the agenda under new business. I am following the 5711 road project down there, and this is a bus tour itinerary. We've been asked to work with one of our local associations to give them a tour from our projects. Let's review the agenda. I'm going to add it to the line under new business. So we item 13.
Okay, what will you add? For some reason I didn't hear.
Okay, it's entitled Bus Itinerary. It's basically a tour, and we're going to work with the Association of Christian Ministers of Clayton County. They can give them a tour of some of our development sites. Just let them see what's going on. Somebody requested.
Okay.
A similar type tour we set up for all our new board members. So we finally got our last two pieces to the puzzle here, so we'll set that up in the next couple of weeks. Okay, after review of the agenda and the addition of this one item, motion for approval.
So moved.
First by Mr. Christmas, second by Ms. Newport. All in favor? Aye. I'm raising my hand like I can see it do this. Okay, next up on the agenda, under tab 1, you got your approval of minutes for the regular session meeting on May 9th. Let's review those minutes. Okay, upon review of the minutes, any additions, changes, or deletions to the minutes? Hearing that, motion for approval. So moved. So moved by Mr. Burton, second by Mr. Christmas. All those in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved. Next up is the treasurer report. Our treasurer is not here. So what we'll do is I will do those. Can we do that? Well, yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Just tab 2.
Tab 2, there you go.
Okay. If you look at that treasurer's report, the expenses and such are broken down on the second page by the month. There doesn't appear to be anything out of order that we hadn't already discussed. Some of those expenses down there in that ledger are a little bit over the budget. We've already talked about those. Something we're going to discuss later on this year or next year's budget. The balance total equities and liabilities on that first page, it hadn't changed a whole lot, gone up a little bit, but that is there would be $6,144,000 and $82.21. I don't think there's anything else in here to talk about unless y'all got some questions. Mr. Toto is not here right now, but I don't see anything out of order. project now.
Any questions on the budget? If not, a motion for approval?
So,
Moved by Mr. Christmas, second by Dr. Hines. All those in favor? Financial reports for the month are approved. Next up is tab 3. I'd also like to welcome Board Member Craddock. And let's make a quick check on the conference call. Anyone on the conference call? Anybody? If you look at the tab of the project update, as you see on that first page, we're still working on some several projects. Today, Toto expansion project is on the agenda, so we'll get a chance to talk to our guests from Toto and thank those guys for what they're doing in our county and expanding in our county. You see these projects are doing pretty well. The project up at number 2, Victory Station, and they're just clearing very important foundations and putting up walls. If you want to see something amazing, go see them pour 500,000 square feet of concrete like in one night. You know, we're doing some excitement. They started about 9 o'clock and don't stop until like 3 o'clock in the morning, running trucks, dumping cement. It's an amazing process to watch if you just got some free time on your hands. But that project is moving along very well. The Gilbert Road project is underway, doing well. Any questions on current project update there? If not, I'll move on to workforce. Our unemployment is down to 3.7. Last month it was at 4.2. All unemployment across the country, the state of Georgia, metro region, and Clayton County all went down. We're creating a lot of jobs. And what we're doing with the development authority, we're working with our ARC Workforce Board. We did a job fair with the city of Riverdale on the 19th. Had about 36 employers and 190 job seekers signed up for it, and it was a pretty good event we held there. Just one of the many partnerships we have with our municipal entities. Construction already started up their summer cohort. They have I have 26 here. The final number is 24 students. They're going to go through this 20-day program, and at the end of that program, they will go straight to work. So that has started, and the ARC Workforce Initiative, the board there, I've been selected to the executive board. I'm co-chair of the Next Gen Committee, which is going to focus on our high school kids. And let's make sure we put things in place to meet the needs of our kids and get them ready for work. We want to change the narrative where getting prepared for work and going to work is just part of everyday life. And let's not, also we want to do that in conjunction with the school system, because we want them to work and go to school at night if it's online, because we want them to get that continued education. Right now it's the audit season, so we're doing a bunch of audits, and we'll get out, of course, when we finish our main audit, all that's got to be put into these various platforms to be in compliance. Any questions, board member, on what I'm doing? Anything I probably need to pay attention to? If there's something that's out there that you see, I'm expecting you guys to give me a call, shoot me an email, and we'll address it. Okay, next item. Old business. We have the Toto expansion, and Ms. Youngblood, you guide us through that, and we do have guests here from Toto. So we have Molly Gidden and Bill Strand.
So these tab 4, what you have is the application for bond financing from Toto. As you know, they are an existing business. They've been in Clayton County a long time. The current project is $226 million in bond financing. They can elaborate. I will give you a brief summary, but they can elaborate if you have any questions. So they currently have 3 buildings. They are going to demolish one of those buildings and build a newer, bigger, better facility in its place. So this is a real estate and equipment bond that will cover both the renovations, the demolition and the construction of the new facility, as well as the new equipment that will be placed there. It will retain 300 full-time jobs in Clayton County. And you have in your paperwork sort of a schematic of what that new building is going to look like. You also have the breakdown of the equipment that will be involved and the positions. So, this is the initial application. What you have for consideration tonight is approval of the application and the issuance of an inducement, approval of an inducement resolution and issuance of a letter of intent, just expressing the authority approval of the application, expressing the willingness to move forward and issue the bonds. And so what would happen after this is that the next step is we would, bond counsel will prepare a bond resolution that would come back before you in a couple of months, and this is just the first step in the process.
Question, the company will retain 300 jobs. Is this current jobs or will they add to 300 jobs? They're adding?
They retain 300 current
They're
jobs.
current jobs, okay. So are there any jobs that will be added to due to the expansion of this?
That's our guess. Oh, the question was, we want to retain the plan and retain the 300 plus jobs. Will there be any additional jobs added at some point in time in the future?
We don't anticipate adding any additional jobs. We do anticipate seeing some of the jobs actually go from assembly labor to actual control and management of the machinery that's in there, yes. So there'll be an upgrade in some of the jobs.
Excellent. Okay, that's good.
I've got a question. Where is Southern Road? I've been in Clayton County for 60 years. I don't know where Southern Road is.
It's behind Fresh Express.
Fresh Express.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Fresh Express, it's right next door to Toto,
Okay.
the neighbors.
I know exactly where that is.
In the building of this new facility, are we using any small local-based business in helping facilitate that build?
I don't know the mix of the businesses that we're using. We're using local contractors to do the construction work.
Clayton County contract?
I'm not sure if they're Clayton County, sir.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to be clear on. Are we using any people from Clayton County to help build this building? Or is there anybody from any kind of small business, big business from Clayton County to help build this building? But you don't know. Okay.
There's the schematic that is in the application, so if you go through the application and you get basically the next page after the signature on the project overview.
How long has Toto been a company in Clayton County?
I've been with the company for over 20 years, and it was in place for about 10 years before I got there, so about 30 years, yes.
There's also, y'all with North American headquarters as well, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we are producing porcelain toilets in that facility. And we have in the factory today over 40 nationalities and 7 languages in the workforce that we have. It is a really interesting workforce, and we are delighted to have the Clayton County employees that are there, as well as some of the surrounding counties.
When will construction start?
We've begun the demolition process, but not sure exactly when the construction will start.
additional questions?
So would a motion be in order to,
That'll be next.
and that appropriate motion would be to accept or to approve?
Or we can hold it.
What?
We can hold it to review it.
We could, but that was not my intention. My intention was to make a motion to approve this application. What others might wish to do is certainly their prerogative. I'm just here to serve and learn.
So if I can answer your question, the motion will be to approve the bond application and adopt the inducement resolution.
And that would be the nature of my intended motion.
Any additional questions? I can call for the motion if you have any questions.
I guess there's, I would like to get a bit further kind of background knowledge. I think it's a great opportunity. Maybe visit the current operation and look at, hone into what Pastor Christmas, actually, Director Christmas actually spoke of earlier, referencing, as far as any Clayton contractors involved in this, local, involvement in this endeavor. Today, we will, just so that I'm clear, we're voting on the issuance of a bond.
Right, there will be a separate bond resolution that would come before you. This is the inducement resolution expressing the intent of the authority to move forward to issue bonds. There would be a separate bond resolution that would be adopted at a future meeting that would trigger the bond validation process that goes through Superior Court.
So I think a question that might help some of their concerns is, have we in the past at this point or through the transaction of a bond issued stipulations about who does the work? Is that a reasonable thing that could be part of the bond issuance, or is that a separate discussion?
You can certainly ask the questions. You can ask them to use best efforts to involve local businesses, but conditioning it upon that is not something that historically has been done, and typically is not done because of the nature of business. You don't know what their needs are and what the availability is for local companies to provide that work. In general, I'm not saying you don't have it, I'm just saying you don't know. And so historically, that is that's not the depth that you've gone to as far as approving the bond resolution. You're looking at the project and what you're bringing to the county. You absolutely can ask these questions and ask them to use their best efforts and ask for follow-up from them in response to those questions. That typically is not something that has been done here or that you see done elsewhere.
So then the question would be, how will this, because I see that there's a retention, you're going to retain 300. What is in it for Clayton?
I would just say the plant can stay here in Clayton County,
Okay.
as opposed to our surrounding counties doing recruiting everybody they can move with.
Got it. So this company, Toto's, they're looking at either expanding here, or if they cannot expand here, they're gonna leave. And
That's always an option, but the preference is they want to stay here, we want to help them stay here. Just like we did with Clorox, another corporation, we did the same thing with the Sara Lee plant, where they had an opportunity to entertain recruiting trips from other counties, and we issued retention bonds to help retain and help them expand.
so the investment of $204 million gives them
226.
well, it said, let's see. Toto expects to incur $204.7 million in capital expenditures, which comprise $140 million in personal property expense and machinery. That's two, 204. So I'm just trying to figure out where is
You've got page 1, item 6 and 7. Finance, which is as I read this. And the 230.
Expansion help you put out more units?
I'm sorry?
Will this expansion help you put out more units?
We hope to, yes.
Love you, though. I fly all over the world looking for Toto. It's airport.
So,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, we have a motion.
Second.
What discussion?
Thank you.
Well,
And now
we have
we're
discussion.
It's still
Now we're
discussion.
discussion.
It's still discussion. Any more questions?
Just one more question. A little deeper as to this project helping you put out more units. Is it, the response was, hope to, or is there a projection on the number of units that would actually increase your output?
Today, the factory is quite old. As I said, it's been in place for upwards of 30 years. So our expectation is that by putting in additional machinery, we'll be able to increase output. We don't have an exact estimate of what that would be. Making porcelain toilets is a bit of a interesting process because you have a lot of spoilage that comes out of the process from shrinkage. But frankly speaking, we want to make sure that we have the ability to bring as much opportunities to continue to increase the output of that factory. I don't know if it's going to be 15% or 10% or 5%, but we do hope to continue to increase the output and the productivity of that operation. And as I said, our expectation is with the employees that we have today, 40 nationalities and 7 languages, it represents the demographic of Clayton County. It is truly United Nations of employees that we have, and they're all delightful to work with. So we want to try to maintain and keep that workforce right here in Clayton County.
Just 300,000, the 300 citizens. But we don't know if the 300 citizens are Clayton County citizens.
Some are and some are not.
But do we have maybe a percentage of Clayton County residents?
I don't have a percentage off the top of my head. We could get that number for you if you want to see who was in Clayton County employee versus a Rockdale or Cobb or the surrounding Henry, some of the surrounding counties.
The overall scope, from my perspective, it is to look at how does Clayton benefit, how do we benefit our citizens, and of course, taxes, salaries,
benefits,
jobs, and jobs that are not necessarily lower jobs, lower paid jobs, but increasing the median. And so when I'm saying what's in it for Clayton, you know, I'm kind of using that term. I'm just really kind of wanting to know how is this going to benefit Clayton County. We don't have a number of projected increase in units. We don't have, so if it's not a projected increase in units, I'm trying to figure out how do we quantify, you know, is this just an overall remodel, or this gives rise to what? Either increase in workforce and increase in units being put out, which gives rise to taxation to Clayton. So, yeah, I just kind of wanted to just kind of understand a bit to that, you know.
Well, bottom line is, you don't have any of those projections, but if this 30-year-old facility not gonna keep working, we're gonna have zero output. We don't have nobody in Clayton County employed, and we're not gonna have any taxes collected. So even if it's just a renovation, to keep what he's got going, it's, you know, it's something that I think we need to move forward with.
I mean, that is correct. Then the question becomes, and I'm going to lean on the efforts and the expertise that we have in place, but just to, you know, just kind of throw out some questions that kind of, you know, are leaning so that I can kind of make it clear, see this clearly. $200 million for renovation. Is, I would say, a pretty good sum of money for renovation. And I don't personally have I haven't seen any outcomes for the $200. So $200 million, you know, right? 260, 238. And what is it giving rise to other than building an updated facility, updated machinery for the same outcome and no increase in jobs? Now,
It's called sustainability.
So then if it's sustainability and retention, then of course, where is the analysis that we can see relative to the sustainability and the cost to sustain the current retention as is, with hopes that there could possibly be an increase in units, but there's no validity to that. And is that then worth $200 million? Because I mean, like I said, at the end, I'm gonna lean on.
It's finance.
I'm gonna lean on.
That's what I'm more looking towards.